regaining your time through streamlined systems and processes and delegating effectively. This is the focus of today's episode of More Influence and Impact. And I brought a guest on who specializes in all of these things and many more in many, many different industries. And I know that entrepreneurs, CEOs, and heart-centered, high-performing entrepreneurs, you want to grow and scale your business, and you're always looking at what is my next move. Oftentimes, we automatically want to go for a new marketing strategy or a new sales strategy, but sometimes freeing ourselves up and delegating and streamlining and systemizing and getting our operations in check is the thing that needs to be done. So I'm going to invite up Desi Bolin. Hello, Desi.
Hi, Celia.
So excited to have you here today.
It's my pleasure. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. So let me introduce you all to Desi. She is the CEO of Virtually Sourced Solutions. She lives in a town of 45 people. So she and her family are 1/8 of the population. And she's a strategic virtual assistant, SVA, and also speaker's virtual assistant, SVA. Both of those she has trademarked. And she offers over 64 services that allow her clients to live in their genius without worrying about the details. Did I get all that right, Desi?
Of course you did.
Good. So, okay, 45 people? That's a small town.
It is a very, very small town. And, it's kind of a funny story. About 7 years ago, I was born and raised in Central California. So we are used to very large populations. But my husband and I, who I've been with my husband since I was 13, we decided to take a month-long trip through 8 different states. We found a house, we closed on it, and we moved a month later. So it was very spontaneous. We were not prepared for our first winter. In a place where we get 10 feet of snow. In California, you get hardly any, if at all. So it's definitely a big culture shock the first year that we were up here, and I wouldn't go back. I love the isolation. I love the land that we live on, and it's amazing.
Amazing. So how far is the closest grocery store to you all?
Well, it depends if you're talking spring or summer. Well, same distance. It's about 20 miles.
Okay.
And in the springtime, it probably takes about 15 minutes to get there.
Okay.
In the wintertime, it probably takes about 40.
Okay. And does your husband do the grocery shopping?
Sometimes and sometimes I do it because, every once in a while you got to get out the house yourself.
Yes. Yeah, get it from the computer. And you guys, your dad is you have your business full time.
Yes.
And then your husband is the dad, kind of not stay-at-home dad, because you're technically a stay-at-home mom too with a business, but I don't know how you describe that in your family.
I would call it the overseer, the caretaker.
Okay. Love it. And how many kids do you have?
I have 2 kids. So I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. My son is actually almost 9. He'll be 9 in about a month.
Awesome. Sorry. And you were going to say something. I'm sorry, I got excited.
Yeah, no. We kind of do trade off still. Okay. There are days, like especially if he's going to go grocery shopping, most of the time that turns into a full day trip.
Sure.
So on days like that, I will definitely be watching the kids and managing work at the same time.
Totally. And this is part of I think this is a great lead into our conversation, because like a lot of the women in particular that I work with are breadwinners, right? You're a breadwinner in your family. And so really kind of learning how to find that balance within the relationship and, the home duties. And yet it's like, we don't want to be out like behind our computer. Like I personally love going grocery shopping. I just wrote an email to my list yesterday about how much I love Whole Foods. But, so it's like we have our things that we want to do to get out of the house, and whether it's fun or, household duties.
Well, yeah. And it's also balancing. I homeschool as well. Oh. So it's balancing that and working that in as well. And you mentioned I have 64 different services. I am very busy all the time.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't get bored that way. So I love it. If I get bored, then I don't do anything.
Right. And so with those 64 services, you have a team. So it's not just solopreneur, Desi, you have a team and you're scaling your company. So tell us about virtually sourced solutions and what your company looks like right now and what industries you serve.
Yeah, so I don't niche particularly. I look for clients who are very heart-centered, mission-driven, service-centered people
Mm-hmm.
who in those cases, I'm able to fully step into their companies, get invested in what they're doing and what they're building and the change they want to make in the world and elevate that even more and move the needle faster. So that's primarily what we do. You touched on it. We let you live in your genius without worrying about the details. And the details for a lot of people is the tech, all of the pieces that you have to have in place to do what you want to do. And that's kind of what we do.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. And I believe with the niching thing, I actually just wrote a post today about that, about how when we don't niche and instead we go for the problem that we help businesses solve, which is what you're doing, right? Like your people have a problem with tech and all of the things and they want to grow and, they need to learn how to delegate or delegate more. And when we really hone in on that problem that we help to solve, we're not limited to industry, demographic, psychographic. We can go for a wider spectrum of the market, but we just have to make sure we target that with our messaging. So this is a great example of how, in real time about how you can have a successful business and not necessarily have a niche and not fall into that. Well, if you try to help everybody, you help nobody. Because it's like, okay, that's lame too.
Yes, you're a woman after my own heart. I have been told for years that I need to niche, and I won't. I won't do it.
Yeah, because it's like you have your thing that you do in your company. Like your services and the problem that you solve are going to attract people who need those services and need that problem solved. And so it's not, if there's something that gets to be industry specific, if you needed to bring in an expert or if you needed to educate yourself on that industry, you could. But really when it comes to the tech and stuff. So let's talk about more about like what you do with clients. Let's get like kind of granular about like what day to day or week to week could look like with one of your clients in your company.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone has different needs. And because we offer such a wide range of services, each client is different on their needs. Some of them is more just, hey, do these admin type things for me because I don't want to do them.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of clients, I'm very much ingrained in their company and I'm in the day to day and I'm in the week to week and growing the business and scaling the business. So it looks different for every client is the short answer to that question. But my normal week, I am in probably about 20 hours of meeting a week.
Okay.
And I am doing probably about 30 to 40 hours of work for clients a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have my team as well. And then managing the team and really making sure they're all set with the things that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. So total, are you personally total working 50 to 60 hours a week?
Yeah, right now. Right now, yes. So, I was a little ambitious last year. I scaled too quickly on the team side. So I had to scale back the team this quarter so we could really dive into the systems and processes, which we are doing. We're making great progress and really streamlining it so everything is automated and set for when we're starting to scale again. I actually have 2 team members slating to start back up in March 1st. So we're heading in the right direction, but quarter 1 of this year is really about diving into the systems and the processes and making sure everything is where I want it to be.
Mm-hmm. This is so good, Desi, because like this is like real life people, like that's what with more influence and impact, I love getting real and raw because we see so much in marketing and social media that it's like I did this and I did that. And nobody really talks about the hard stories and the hard times.
They don't. And it would be so much better if everybody did because people need to know that business is not easy.
Right.
there are ups and there are many, many downs.
Mm-hmm.
And you've kind of got to navigate. And a lot of times you don't have a guidebook. You don't have a how-to on how to do it. You got to figure it out.
Yep. 100%. And yeah.
And, give yourself permission to take a step back. Take
Mm.
a step back and look at things before you commit or before you continue to scale.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Giving yourself permission is a big piece of that.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And we sometimes, it's like, in this conversation, it's like we do the thing that we help our clients with, right? So like you help your clients streamline systems and processes, and then you can have fast growth. And it's like, wait a second, like we've been doing all this for our clients. Now we need to take a step back and do it for our own company.
Entrepreneur's pitfall, 100%.
Yeah.
And if there is a business owner out there that is saying they have not done the entrepreneur's pitfall where they're implementing things for clients that they aren't implementing for themselves, I would have to kind of question that, because I mean, you want to show up and you want to serve your clients. At the same time, you're disservicing yourself because you're not doing the same thing for yourself. And that's a pitfall that it's honestly human nature. We are kind of in a way built to serve and support each other without really taking a look at ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a marketer that I follow, Ellen Sultanic, and he does a lot with funnels and marketing and things like that. His group is Nothing Held Back. Are you in that community, or are you familiar with him?
I believe I am.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, he's got a big Facebook group, but he teaches, digital marketers about funnels. And he will say, he did a post recently. He was like, every time you go build something or do something for a client, go do it for yourself, because he works with a lot of freelancers. But when you're also like a done for you service provider like yourself, or a consultant like I am, where we do a lot of hands-on, we have to be implementing for the client. And then also, okay, now I laid a brick for you, now I'm going to go lay a brick for me. And that is how we have that sustainability to keep growing.
Yeah, it certainly is. And when I started the company, my daughter was 5 months old. I had just moved to a new state, let alone city.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of changes all at once. And I knew if I got a regular job, I would have to be away for 12 hours a day because of where we are. So that's kind of where the company came from. And it's evolved into what it is now. But for 3 years, I was in this business by myself. So I definitely understand that. And I'm becoming more and more present to that phenomenon of, if I'm going to do one thing for a client, I need to also do one thing for myself. Because that is the way you scale. That is the way you build systems and processes that help you scale. And that's a big theme for this quarter. For me. And I never really had any guidance in that. I'm coming to these realizations on my own.
Yeah.
Of, oh shoot, now I need to take a step back, really dive into it, and then propel forward. Because then I'll have a more solid foundation.
Yes. And it's like, I know in my company, it's, I help clients with their sales processes and sort of their end-to-end, marketing to client experience. And I have been iterating all of those things in my company and really finding like what works for my sales process. And I'm always testing and tweaking and playing with it. And that's a part of the journey. And I think and I wanted to say this because it's like, when it's our expertise and we do the thing, and we also need to do the thing for ourselves, like that's one part. But then you have clients that like setting up systems and process is not their expertise. Like they need to do that. And then that's where your company is going to come in, and you're going to help them with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, honestly, I spend all day, every day in systems and processes, and I love it because I'm able to really give you strategy and recommendations on, oh, this is where you want to go. And that's, that's a differentiator of a strategic virtual assistant. We start with the end in mind. We're very strategy focused. So we start with the end in mind and work backwards and put things in place to move the needle forward faster. Along with proactiveness and hyper efficiency. So strategy is a very big thing for me, and planning
Mm-hmm.
and getting things in place and working towards goals with the end in mind.
Right, right, absolutely. And that's so important. And I want to talk about that. Let's pause there for a second, because strategic virtual assistant, I remember when we first talked about that, I'm like, well, that's what most people want when they hire a VA. They want that thought partner and that person that's going to help them bring their vision to life. And then they start going out there and hiring VAs, and it's like, wait, like this person is just waiting around for tasks. They don't have any input or any insight to add to my business, and it just becomes this huge drain, because like they don't have that thought partner. And so I love what you're doing on the strategy side. And I think we talked about this in a previous conversation too, around like people will say, well, no, that's a business coach, that's not a VA. And so you're kind of like blurring the lines between business
Yeah.
coach and VA.
Yeah, I am. And it's forging a new sub industry. The VA world has gotten very, very big since COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a lot of competition. There is a lot of, and I don't want to bash it too much, but I do believe that business owners do need someone like me who is able to give them input on their business and help them implement,
Mm-hmm.
which is the key piece, is implementation. Because you can talk to a business coach all day, every day. They'll give you great ideas, but it's up to you at that point to go and implement.
Mm-hmm.
And that a lot of the time is where the balls fall.
Mm-hmm.
But for business owners, I often see that they need someone like myself, and they need an assistant
Mm-hmm.
or someone working with them in the day-to-day of their company, getting these smaller tasks implemented so you don't have so much to do.
Yeah.
I love VAs. I actually have one starting March 1st, and that's going to be exciting because it's the first time I've ever had an assistant.
Your own personal VA.
I
That's
know.
exciting.
It is exciting, and it's a testament to our growth, and it took us a while to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't be prouder of my team and
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing for clients. Because of the work we do, a lot of times my clients stick around for, I have a client who's been around for 5.5 years, almost as long as we've been in business. And I've had one that's been with me for 3.5 years. So they're very long retention type clients. And because of that, I'm able to help them scale to multiple 7 figures. That's just because I'm able to get in there, get ingrained, and really understand what they're doing and how they're showing up in the world.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, and this is something I would love to presence, is I'll have business owners come to me and then they'll fall off. They'll stop working with me a couple of months down the line because they're not seeing results.
Mm-hmm.
What most people don't understand is this is a long game process.
Mm-hmm.
It takes at least a year to see any results in the style that you want to see them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the metrics come in too, right, Desi? Because like if we only look at, because my brain is like, wait a second, I know, like maybe your standard, like, oh, she hit 300K in 30 days or whatever, like that kind of stuff. But metrics are measurable, but when we look at like time saved, because like the entrepreneur, like you can go and free up all of this time for them, right? But then it's up to them to decide how they're going to use that time now. Are they going to go put it into revenue generating activities? Like, what are they going to do differently with their time, in that when you help them? But there's all kinds of metrics that can be measured in that year time frame besides, like the end of the in-game ROI or whatever.
Absolutely. There are tons of metrics. I'd probably go in hundreds of metrics that you could measure. And it really depends on what projects you're working on in that year.
Totally.
So, I mean, you being present to the projects that you're implementing and what things you can measure for those projects, that is going to be critical to realizing what's going to give you ROI.
Totally. I think just my sales brain fired off when she's like, wait a second, it's a year until we get results. And I'm like, wait, I know that's not true.
No, I was more saying the scaling
The
results. It
scaling
takes about
results.
a year to scale.
Got it.
And begin the scaling process, because
Got
you
it.
got to deep dive. You got to deep dive before you can go up.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Well put. Well put. Yeah. The getting in there. And that's the stuff that you and I are just so on the same frequency, because like I write about this a lot, about how entrepreneurs, especially those are scaling. Like I find that a lot of business owners, like they hit that 500K, 600K, 700K, and that they just like, they want to break through to 1 million and they can't, right? And they keep hitting the upper limit. And it's usually because they are going after a new marketing tactic. Okay, let me go fire my marketing agency and get a better ads person.
Yeah.
Let me go hire a new sales strategist to get a better, closing script. Let me go, right? Because it's like sales and marketing hamster wheel. And it's like, yes, we can address those things. However, it
I love
is.
you. You're great.
But it's like, so we have to break the addiction to the dopamine hit that people are chasing, because this is the real stuff that it takes. Because it's like, so always going after those quick wins and knowing like, okay, I'm going to commit to Desi for a year of doing this. Where is my business going to be a year from now? Where am I going to be? Right. So as business owners, we have to retrain ourselves, and we have to be educating about getting out of that dopamine cycle of chasing. Because that's why the marketing in the sales tactics are chased, because it's like that quick high, that quick buzz, and that quick win, but that doesn't necessarily solve your long-term problem.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't. And a lot of times I will advise clients to talk with who they're currently working with and get strategies that they think would be a good to implement, or at least try.
Mm-hmm.
Because honestly, you don't really know until you try. And a lot of times it's not so much switching companies. Yes, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes there are better companies. However, a lot of times it's really just opening up and having a conversation about where you want to be and how you envision getting there and what they can do to support you in that vision.
Yeah, totally. And then finding people on the implementation side too, because I think like what you're saying, it's not necessarily, and I just pick on marketing and sales because, well, I'm in that. And I think that just the way that the industry has conditioned people's thinking to think that they have problems that they don't have, I'm just always poking holes in it because it's fun. Like, it doesn't have to be this way, guys. So, what you're saying, it's like making sure that you're getting the right support. Really, like, is this the thing that I really need? Is the new provider in marketing sales, will that help me? Yes. But am I recreating the same pattern over and over, the hamster wheel? Maybe I need to go and take this operational route or this delegation route.
Yeah. And a lot of times you are absolutely correct. I've seen this countless times with clients who have gone through multiple VAs before they come to me, and they perpetuate the same cycle of not delegating their work properly, not providing guidelines, all of the things that make a relationship like one I would have fail.
Yeah.
Or not live up to standards, because they're perpetuating a cycle that has not been broken and has never been broken, because they don't have the mindset work behind them to fix it.
Right. Just getting out of their thinking. And that's why it's important to get, to read, I think that reading is, and even like YouTube videos, and I love coaching programs, and I do coaching and high ticket coaching, but also just like that education of new thoughts and getting outside of our industry as well, to like find out what other industries are doing and how they're thinking and how they're innovating is so beneficial.
I agree. And that's another reason why I won't niche, because I have clients in so many different industries right now. I get fields of thought from every different area every week. And it continues to expand the brain and say, oh, how can I apply this thing that's happening over here and working really well in this industry where it's not working well?
Yeah.
Right? So, definitely, I'm a perpetual student. I will always be a perpetual student. Currently, right now, I think I'm in 4 coaching programs. Um, and you do it for the betterment of yourself and the betterment of your skill sets.
Yeah.
And doing that and continuing to learn and continuing to expand, that is how you get to be amazing, even though everybody already is, but you get to be extremely proud of yourself and extremely able to show up and serve and support.
And that's really what, thought leaders and different people, like, they want to be in their genius, right? Like, whatever they're doing, they want to be in more of that. So let's talk a little bit about like what it looks like. Because I went working with you, because you showed us like more your day to day, and you said 20 hours of meetings. So you actually meet with your clients one-on-one and have strategy calls with them as a part of working together, right?
Yeah, I do. Currently right now we're in the middle of a shift. So I have a lot of clients that have been around for a long time where we did not have a very strict meeting schedule. So they're a lot of times having more meetings than the hours they're contracted for. So we're kind of in a shifting process and a transitionary process. And it's taking a step back that I was able to realize, oh, shoot, this client is paying for 10 hours, but I'm in 16 hours of meetings a month with them. That doesn't compute.
No.
It just does not compute. So we're in a transitionary process. But for right now, my services, my packages come with a 90-minute strategy call with me per month.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's great. And we get to really dive down and figure out, okay, this is where you want to go. These are the steps that we need to do and we need to implement in order to get you there.
Right. And then they get implementation then your team is going and doing the implementation on those things.
Yes. Which is amazing, because a lot of business owners, they'll listen, and we've touched on this a little bit. They'll hear the recommendations and the things that you're saying that they need to do, but they don't know how to go and implement it. And then
because it's not their genius, right?
Yeah,
like I have colleagues, and even for me too, like the tech stuff. I mean, I have one that she'll just get stuck, 4 to 6 hours messing with Calendly. We were just talking about that today, and it's like, no, like you don't have to do that. So it's like some of those things, it's like the tech recommendations, it's just not their genius at all.
Yeah,
And so it's going
it's
to take
not.
them
And I
away.
love tech. I love it. It is kind of a home away from home for me. I'm known, well, I think you coined this for me. You coined me Octo Arms.
Yes.
Which is amazing. I'm also known as the Desi Button.
Okay.
As we're able to really understand the tech, we're able to get in there and fix problems that most of the time go on for weeks or months in a matter of minutes.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, and you had said in a previous conversation, like you save your clients a certain amount of time per week and per month.
Yep. So typically we save them about 10 hours of time a week, or about 40 hours a month.
Yeah.
That's on average. I have had clients that we save 80 hours. I have had clients that we save 20 hours a month. It really just depends on how much work they're doing and how much work they need to delegate.
Incredible. So how do people connect with you? Like, do you hang out on social media at all? We have all of your links
everywhere.
Okay.
I am so everywhere, but I've got, my phone, my website, virtuallysourced.com. There are a couple of freebies there for you to grab. One on overcoming objections, which is a 42 slide deck of what you can do in a sales conversation, and the objections you normally get from people, with professional rebuttals that you can use.
Nice.
Then I also have why businesses fail. It's the top 6 reasons why businesses typically fail in the first 5 years, and what you can do to overcome it. I think I have a third one on there, but I cannot remember what it is right now. I tend to give a lot, and I change them out quite a bit. But you can also schedule a call with me, talkwithdesi.com. Super easy, super straightforward. My availability is always open. I do have a lot of meetings, but feel free to slip in there when you can find a time. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram, you name it, I'm there.
Awesome. Yes. And we put your link to talkwithdesi.com in the show notes, and we will grab some of those freebie opt ins as well to share. So our listeners and viewers can check those out as well. So, any final thoughts or words, Desi, before we wrap up?
I would say life is too short to not do what you really, really enjoy doing.
Mm.
And there is a plethora of people out there who are willing to serve and support you in your mission and what you love to do. So go out and live in your genius rather than being bogged down by the details.
So well said. So well said. Well, thank you, Desi, for your expertise and all of your insights today and a great conversation. And thanks to all of our listeners and viewers with more influence and impact. This is Celia Faye Meisel with guest Desi, and we'll